What does it take to make a change? Change is the effect of action, not a product of idleness. Things won't just fall into place magically, but instead require the joint effort of everybody involved to make sure it gets done. But where do you, as an individual, fit in this picture? Clearly, some of you may think that acting up and speaking up simply isn't for you. Someone else can do it, we all think, simultaneously, and before we know it, nobody is. We can't let our own personal sovereignty be taken away by somebody else, and instead must actively work together to make sure that we are the owners of the change around us. Where can change be applied? At a glance, I'm sure everybody has something that they would like to change about themselves, their surroundings, and just their life in general. But moving beyond the personal level and transitioning into the world as a whole, there's one true playing field where transformations are needed the most. If you haven't guessed where I'm going by now, I'm talking about politics. The dictionary defines politics as the actions taken between individuals to take control of a country. And moving beyond that, beyond the theatrics, the spectacle, and the self-imposed unnecessary complications, that's all there's to it. This is something that affects all of us, no matter our age, race, religion, or sex. At times, politics may seem distant, far removed from our day-to-day lives, but the hard truth is that the actions of politicians end up affecting us more than we realize, and perhaps shape our future more than we would like. After all, the government is the one in charge of passing new laws and implementing new regulations. In the lead up to this TED Talk, I sent out a survey to secondary students here at ANS, and 74% of the respondents indicated that they had little to no interest in politics. Indifference translates into inaction. That's why it's important to get involved, now more than ever. Anybody who knows me well knows that I'm in love with politics, and that my passion for it has been there since the very beginning. In fact, here I am, in 2011, barely 9 years old at the time, at a political rally here in Managua. My political involvement has been there forever, and I have been active in political campaigns as a volunteer here in Nicaragua for the 2011, 2016, and 2017 elections, going to several neighborhoods around Managua to get out the vote. One thing has become clear to me throughout all these years. Although participating in a political process might not always be pretty or even safe, its importance and relevance lies in the fact that it gives you a platform to voice your thoughts and opinions, as well as an opportunity to mix and mingle with those who think the same way you do. How can others know what you're thinking if you choose not to speak up? I'm sure some people think that this wouldn't be consequential at all, and that life would go on as usual. But that's a misleading premise. If people disconnected themselves from politics, their voices would disappear. If we don't speak up, our voices won't get heard, and our demands would sink into oblivion. At the end of the day, getting involved in politics isn't as hard as it seems. All I had to do was reach out to some people I knew, message pages I liked on Facebook, and I was already in. Getting involved in politics doesn't mean becoming president or a congressperson. Political involvement can be that, yes, but it can also be as simple as sharing a post on Facebook or liking something on Instagram. To be involved means to be informed and to know what's going on. Being an informed citizen is the first step into active political involvement. Don't let your social media be flooded by things that don't really impact your life. Social media shouldn't always just be an escape from reality, but instead a window of opportunity that will let you take in the knowledge necessary to know what is going on in the world around you. If you use it right, it will most definitely open up your world to political involvement. At the end of the day, massive political involvement has been one of the most consequential agents of change in a society. In a democratic country, it allows the political elite to know what's going on. And this is extremely important when developing policy, because when they know what the people want, they're going to have to deliver on it. This is a cornerstone of modern democracy, and there are several examples of it all over history. What do important political leaders of the past, like Margaret Thatcher, Ronald Reagan, Bill Clinton, and Barack Obama, all have in common? It's simple. Their political campaigns were fueled by a motivated and energized base who was committed to seeing change get delivered. Clinton and Obama went from being considered outsiders in their party to leading it to consecutive landslide victories. On the other hand, Ronald Reagan is a clear example on how active political participation can change the face of a political party, while Thatcher's example teaches us that an active political base can completely transform the makeup of a country's political and economic system. But as we all know, not every country in the world operates as a perfect democracy. In fact, according to last year's EIU report, there are only 19 full democracies in the world today. Some people may think that change can only come about when a full democracy, but that's misleading. There are still examples in history and around the world today that prove that change can still come about despite adverse conditions. Let's take a look at a country in particular, South Africa. In the 19th century, South Africa was colonized by the British. And after gaining its independence at the start of the 20th century, the country's white minority took over government, effectively silencing the black majority's voice. This legal regime became known as apartheid, and after lasting for over 4 decades, it is now remembered as one of the most brutal and horrific chapters in South African history. Nowadays, Nelson Mandela is remembered as one of the greatest statesmen, not only of the past century, but of our time. However, what if Nelson Mandela would have just accepted apartheid and bowed down to the South African government's cruel push to suppress non-whites? Would have the country ever transitioned into the enfranchising multiracial democracy it is today? I wouldn't think so. His tenacity, his courage, and his push to rally people against apartheid is what led to its eventual demise. South Africa didn't transition from being a white supremacist state by chance. Instead, it was the product of an entire country banding together, articulating their interests, and fighting to right a terrible wrong. South Africa's example teaches us that leadership can still come about despite unjust conditions, because it is this injustice that leads people to act. This injustice is what leads people to speak up and fight to make what they think is wrong, right. Last year, the United States held a presidential election. And despite the fact that it was considered one of the most important presidential elections in recent American history, I wouldn't call it the most adequate example of political involvement, because spite, hatred, and divisiveness all motivated the campaign. However, last year's elections paint a much prettier picture. The 2018 midterms are a perfect example on how when people vote, their voices get heard. These elections weren't motivated from top to bottom, but instead from bottom to top. The people were energized, motivated, and willing to pursue their authentic political desires. This led to several political firsts, and the United States Congress became much more representative of the country as a whole. As a matter of fact, American voters elected the youngest woman to Congress, the first Muslim American Congresspeople, and the first Native American representatives. And in races all throughout the country, racial and gender hegemony caved into a new vision of America, an inclusive America, an America where people aren't left out by the color of their skin, but instead included by the valuable contributions they seek to make to their society. This just rings true the fact that when people vote, their voices get heard, because the people that get elected are people that legitimately represent them. At the end of the day, as I already said, political involvement isn't as difficult as it seems. Today, when you go home, maybe watch the news. like a local politician's Facebook page, and read up on the issues that affect your community today. Although these might not seem like the most consequential steps to take, they're baby steps. And as high school students, they're still significant. When you're underage, you may be too young to vote or to be an active politician, but you're never too young to spread awareness and help build the future you want for yourself and your country. Does it matter that whatever you post or share only gets a couple of likes? Not really. Information isn't a race for likes. Quality discussion is better than shallow agreement, and sharing knowledge allows us to engage in conversations that turn out to be beneficial to society because they make us think. If we don't talk about the problems we face as a community, then they will never be solved. Use the platforms available to you to become more aware of the world around you and invite others to do the same thing as well. You can also participate in other activities that build on activism and reflect the building blocks towards political involvement. Here at ANS, we have DALE, we have Asset Democracy, we have TEDx, and countless other clubs and organizations that seek to incorporate students into society by making them think and get involved with the issues and challenges that press our community today. You can also seek out other platforms, like the school newspaper, which allows you to share the stories that matter and learn more about what's going on all over the world. Is it hard to get involved in these? Not really. You just need to have the willingness and the passion to go beyond your boundaries and grow as an individual. Back in 9th grade, I was persuaded to join that year's DALE Congress, and I was reluctant at first. I didn't know whether I could make it or survive. But once I had entered a world where I could be with people who shared the same interests I had, who I could talk with the same things I believed in, my excitement only grew. And I became happier at the prospect of one day being actively involved in a political process. So get out there, get involved, and become a builder of the future you want to see for yourself. Don't wait for someone else to come into your life and change it. If you do that, you'd only be putting yourself at risk by enabling others to do the decisions you should be doing for yourself. Don't be a bystander, be a doer. Don't just observe. Instead, act. Overcome your fears and anxieties. Own your voice and transform yourself into the change you want to see happen inside your community. We wonder why no one else is changing the world. Yet we often fail to realize that we are the very agents of change we desire. Any kind of change is possible. We just have to rise up to the challenge as individuals in society and as a society to make that change a reality. Nothing is beyond reach if we set our hearts to it. So the next time you think someone else can do it, keep in mind that that someone should be you. Thank you.